Hello, everyone. Welcome to our podcast today from the Champions Are Built model. This is Coach Eric Johnson, the brand.
And this is Coach Aaron Thigpen, the source. You guys, today we got a different sort of podcast. We're going to let you guys turn the tables on us. And who better than one of our parents of one of our athletes and one of our avid listeners, Jason Matthews. He's got his own podcast show. And so we'd like for him to now turn the tables on us today and put us under the spotlight and ask us a few questions.
Yeah, my podcast name is Cream Podcast. It stands for Cash Rules Everything Around Me Podcast. It's a financial podcast. You can see any platform that you like, YouTube, Spotify, or anywhere you listen to your latest podcast episodes on.
So Jason's been doing his podcast for quite a while. He's definitely used to this being on this side of the, I guess, microphone. And so we're his. And without further ado, Jason, let us have it.
Yeah, I'm glad to be on here. You guys, I always feel like when it comes to speed and explosion in the Bay Area, and I feel like you're like the godfather to everybody right now. And EJ, I always tell everybody, I said, EJ nerded out on baseball, knowing how everything is. How do you guys see the state of Bay Area baseball? You guys been around the Bay Area for a while. You see how it is. How do you guys see the state of Bay Area baseball right now?
Aaron, I'm going to let you start because I know you got some thoughts. I'm going to be out here for an hour, man.
It's like, where do you begin?
Yeah.
I'm going to start from the training side. And I'm just going to kind of give you my view of what I've seen transpire. But what I'm finding is when I first started doing this, I didn't even have a facility. I'd walk out with a medicine ball, a bag of medicine balls, some cones, maybe some dumbbells, and we'd work out at a track. And
Yeah.
I'd have like maybe 6 or 7 guys, and we'd get all sorts of things done. And then they would do weight training. I'd give them some instructions to do on their own. And that seemed to be enough for those guys back then. I mean, I remember my first 6 or 7 guys that I got from Rob Bruno, 4 or 5 of them were draft picks. One was Chris Grueller, who was the number 1 pick overall. I think it was a 92,
It's early.
maybe
Yeah.
second round pick or second pick of the first round, something like that. And Josh Butler, who was another pitcher,
Yeah.
he was a second round pick. I had a kid from Clayton Valley. He was a pitcher, 3rd round pick. And then I had a kid out of Texas, I think it was a 4th or 5th round pick. But our training was pretty bare bones. And not to say that there wasn't some sophistication to it, but at that time it was pretty bare bones. And the athletes ate it up and they embraced it. And maybe that's because it wasn't being done. I mean, we were pretty much just doing some kind of training outside of baseball was kind of cutting edge in itself. And so I think there was a mystique to it, a newness to it that athletes gravitated to, parents gravitated to, especially elite level athletes. Fast forward 30 years, it's so commonplace. I think it's been commercialized, for lack of a better term. And it's been co-opted by the fitness industry. And so it seems like it's, I guess, watered down in a sense. So a lot of athletes take it for granted because you can see a lot of the accoutrements of performance training anywhere now. You can see a guy on YouTube with some ladders and jumping plyo boxes and this and that. You can go to your 24-hour fitness and see some of the same equipment, same devices. And so I think becomes so commonplace, athletes take it for granted. And it's offered in so many different formats that it's just kind of become a check the box sort of thing. Whereas it was kind of a premium sort of thing that elite athletes did. Now that it's trickled down to the masses, it's kind of got that mass mentality. And it's just kind of like most people treat performance training like it's like a gym membership. And I hate to say it, but a lot of performance places treat it like a gym membership. And so I think that's probably the biggest thing that irks me a little bit, is because for performance training to be effective, there has to be total engagement on the athlete's part. And there has to be a buy-in on the parents' part. And there can't be this transitory sort of relationship you want to have with it. My thing is, you have to commit to it for it to be effective. And I see sometimes it's that lack of commitment, or one foot out the door, or that checkbox mentality that that kind of rubs me the wrong way, because I'm a purist and I like to see the fruits of my labor. It's nice to get paid, but I also like to see these athletes put into play what the hard work that they're doing. And parents are paying good money for this. We didn't have this as a kid for me. I mean, I would have loved to have this. I would have loved to have someone who just wanted to practice on a regular basis. And so when I see kids who don't take practicing to heart, they don't take their training to heart, they don't take the equipment that the parents spend, outfit these kids with $600, $700 worth of equipment, and they leave it laying around, or each year they want a new glove. I don't know. I'm built a different way and come from a different era. So anyway, that's my opening salvo.
Aaron, well said. You are a purist, and I am too. And it's funny because you and I have shared athletes together for over 30, 35 years, it seems like now. And one thing I've noticed, and you can have said any better, I think athletes used to, on a consistent basis, embrace the training. Now, because of social media, internet training, wherever you want to call it, maybe they don't embrace the training because there are so many cooks in the kitchen, as we can say. And out there, if you want to listen to our podcast, Too Many Cooks in the Kitchen, check that out on Spotify or YouTube. But what I'm saying is, there's too many cooks in the kitchen. And a lot of times these kids get confused, or messages that are different. So when you go back and train an athlete, they have these 1,000 thoughts in their head about what to do instead of focusing on the task at hand. If I'm asking a player to field a ground ball or to hit a ball, I need them to be focused on that specific moment of hitting that ball or fielding that ground ball. And kids now have so many thoughts in their heads that they can't focus on stuff. It's almost like they're on ADD, even though we know they're not. But it seems like that can be what's different back then than it is now. That's one thing. The second thing, there used to be tons of clinics where athletes would come and want to be there. I'm finding that athletes come to clinics or come to trainings or whatever you want to call classes, and it's an activity because their friend is there. Or someone said, you need to go here and this is the best. And when they find out that it's meat and potatoes and it's not flashy and glitzy, then they're turned off by it. And Aaron, you and I know this. There's nothing sexy about training. You come in and you work, you get your work, and it's boring. And you come the next day and you're bored. But what drives you is your competitive spirit. And I think that's one of the things that's lost a little bit. People's competitive spirit to train with others and compete against others and really get after it. I don't see that as prevalent as I did back then. And the last thing I want to mention is I think athletes have been given too much. Like, there's too much. Like, okay, I get to come here all the time, or I'm going to be there. And it's special to come and work out with like an Aaron Thigpen. It's a privilege and honor to step in game speed. I always thought that. I still believe that. But athletes, for some reason, say, well, okay, we just walk through the doors, we're good. You're not good. You haven't done any work yet. So I think athletes are a little bit put back a little bit by that. But I think from now versus 30, 35 years ago, maybe their attitudes have changed because society has changed about how things are looked at. And unfortunately, I think when you get to that elite athlete, that's at 1%, they don't look at it that way. They're in it to win it. And that's how it should be.